Spawning in the top right position of the map that is Cloud Kingdom. A lot of Zergs seem to really like picking this map. It is VPbenQsLivko. And spawning in the bottom left position as our yellow Terran player. Yellow. It is playing for Team Empire. Man, some great micro and multitasking last game. It is Empire.Kas. I'm not gonna lie. I know Kas plays a lot, and I feel like mechanically he's on par with a lot of top European players. But his multitasking really surprised me with how he was able to hit all of those drops while doing the big pushes. So I have to say, Kas really showed up that game, and I honestly, if he plays the same way, I see total possibility of him 3-0ing. But Slivko is no pushover. This is a map where getting a third base is much easier for a Zerg player, much more comfortable for Zergs. A Terran player, you can dance on two bases. It's not as big of a deal. But for Slivko, having that third pushed out so far to the point where he didn't take it until he had Lair, that really slows down what you want to do. And Kas wasn't really slowed at all by the way the map was set up. He was very gutsy. He said, I'm going to take the most open expansion in the map as my third base. So we should see a very different game here out of Slivko. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a gasless fast 3 hatchery. Kas, of all players, is definitely the last guy to go for a 2-rack style of play. As we see, he's already getting his barracks. No gas, so it will most likely be a barracks expand at about 16 supply. So this isn't unusual at all. Slivko, though, I really want to see him try to get a faster third and try to make something happen. So just as a quick pointer, guys, we had 2 matches earlier today. We had MMA, who won 3-2 over Acer's Bly as well. He beat his opponent. He beat his teammates, actually, did a team kill. And our last match that we just finished up was FXO's lowly 3-2ing Nathanias. So really interesting results we've had so far here. Nathanias doesn't, the MMA game doesn't surprise me as much, but, Nathanias, he kind of threw the series a bit hard. And we're going to see Slivko, now he's really mixing it up. Double hatchery before spawning pool. So greedy out of him. But Kas, he's going for this fast gas. He's not going to have anything really in time to put any kind of reverse pressure on. He doesn't really have many Marines out to deal with this. The SCV's going to come in, and he's going to see, okay, you have spawning pool, but I don't really see anything else. I think pool should be done, but no. So he's going to realize that there's a possibility here that Slivko has done something really greedy. If you understand your spawning pool timing, you'd be like, well, the hatchery's done, the Zerglings should be coming out somewhat soon, right? No. He should go check this third base. But Kas is just going to head home or to the tower. So he does not know about this third base, and that could actually hurt him a lot if Slivko gets away with being greedy. He needs to keep his mind open to the possibilities, the conundrums that could accumulate throughout the course of this game. And he's only on a single gas as well, so he's going to go for double command center. And you know what? Typically, you either want to counter your opponent's greed with either aggression, or you want to be as greedy, if not greedier. You say, okay, well, my opponent is being greedy. So I'm just going to get one step ahead of him. He's going to get this third command center now. And I feel like double hatchery before spawning pool is slightly more effective than fast 3 command center, just because the larva production and the additional queen. It's basically like a macro hatch, even if you don't build drones out of it. So Slivko is bringing a drone up, though. He's playing very greedily, and I think that's a smart way to play versus Kas. Kas is not the kind of player that is going to go not going to go for a really big mid-game, earlier mid-game push. He likes to wait for his timings. He took his third with his stim push, with the drops. He took a third with everything that he did. And, wow, both players are really delaying everything this game. Kas still on 1 gas. Now he's going to take additional geysers, but his ability to produce many upgrades is pretty limited. He has his factory coming in, but the barracks isn't in a position to actually build a reactor in time for anything, so he's just going to get additional barracks, and I think that's a smart move. He could go fast tanks. He could make 1 or 2 Hellions just to scout, but we'll have to see. He's going to get a reactor anyway. The reactor could be left for the barracks, or he's going to build maybe a Hellion or 2 and then lift off. Possibly could see something crazy like mech out of Kas. I don't think we're going to. Kas really shines with his bio. But, of course, playing so many games, he's familiar with every style humanly possible, even ones we don't know about yet. So Slivko has finally taken his gas in his main base. Not yet enough to actually go for a lair or speed first. So we'll have to see if he wants to try to go for faster tech, if he wants to maybe get double evolution chamber first, get a bit of a wall off. But Kas, this is interesting to see out of him. Slivko is playing super greedy. Kas is playing a greedy build that is also defensive. If you ever play on ladder and you're like, man, I lose to 8-minute roach timings, 7-minute roach timings, or something like that. Well, what Kas has here, this would shut down a lot of early attacks. Maybe not 2-base play, but delayed timings, such as roach baneling. He has a siege tank out at 7.5 minutes. He is prepared for any possible aggression that Slivko's going to bring. But Slivko, he's actually getting away with being ridiculously greedy. He's basically only making drones. He's moving up to 70 some drones right now. By 8 minutes, he has a lot. And I guess his drone count's going down. He built some evolution chambers, but now he's getting his lair before his speed. He's going to get this 1-1 upgrade going very quickly. Slivko's getting away with a lot of greed. This is actually kind of ridiculous, just how hard he's been droning and how few units he's made. But Kas, he's also going for the economic style, and I feel like this is one of the reasons why opening with Hellions isn't a terrible idea, even if you go for this kind of expansion. But he's got 2 tanks out now. This game will basically 100% go to the late game because both players are just trying to be ridiculously greedy. At this point, I wouldn't even be surprised if Kas scanned, realized what was happening, and just got like 2 more command centers right now and just cut everything. But it's a very interesting situation. Both players' upgrades are evenly timed. +1 attack, 42 seconds in, 53 for Slivko. Everything is looking very, very normal and even between our players. But a 4th base now going down at 9 minutes for Slivko. We're basically playing an NR15 game, possibly NR20. Kas is not a guy that's afraid to build a ginormous number of battle cruisers and just turtle like crazy, lift all his buildings and say, hey man, I'm not afraid to play our long game. We make this like Cold War. But Zerglings are running in now to that 3rd base. Going to be able to pick off a couple of these SCVs. The Marines are poised to defend that, but I have to say, is Kas getting his... Okay, he's getting his army right now. There are a lot of Zerglings here, but they don't have the upgrades just yet. The Marines don't actually have stim yet. I don't even think there's a starport. Okay, now we have the reactor building, so no medevacs yet. But Slivko, he's like, okay, well, I'm just going to take a 5th base then. I just want to see Kas be like, okay, I'll take 4th base then. Or something, but this game, this is basically NR20 we're seeing here. A little bit of pokes, a little bit of jabs, but there's not going to be any big fighting for quite a while. The hive is going to be complete at like 12 minutes. This is a little bit ridiculous. A lot of infestors are coming out. Pathogen glands are going to be complete soon. And man, this is not the most action-packed game, but I feel like we're going to have some explosions at the very end here. I'm looking forward to this. I'm looking forward to seeing this. So Kas moving up a bunch of SCVs, taking the gas at his 3rd base now. This looks pretty normal. Needs to start combat shield. There we go, and get some more reactors. He's not really in a rush to get units together, to be honest. So this is pretty good. Pretty good to see. I like Kas's decisions here. He's not really being aggressive at all, though. And he's greedy as he may be. Like what Kas is doing, if you're playing a regular ladder game, and you played against a Zerg that went 15 hatch, 16 pool, and went for a fast 3rd at 3.5 minutes, what Kas is doing right now would be very, very greedy. But what he's doing is actually, you could almost call it standard or aggressive based on what Slivko is doing. So this is interesting. The hive is basically done. Spire will be complete soon. We should see a greater Spire start very soon. And yeah, another factory coming in. So Kas is going to move up to double factory. This is a very important time to get this together. He can't really push out because he doesn't have his 2-2 or his combat shield, but these upgrades will actually line up pretty well with maybe a tank or 2 of production from the 2nd factory. So Kas could have a really nicely lined up 2-2 timing, but I think he'll be sorely disappointed to realize, oh, my opponent has Broodlords at 14 minutes. Like, that's what we could actually have. It's starting now, so it's going to be done around 14.5 minutes, the Greater Spire. So 7 Corruptors on the way to prep for this. There's basically going to be Broodlords at the 15-minute mark. This is looking a little bit scary. Kas needs to get some starports up. As strong as Kas's macro is, as many units as he may have, he needs Vikings to deal with Broodlords. It almost doesn't matter because Baneling Infestor, Zergling, Broodlord will just stomp flat-out Marine tank like this unless you get the most godly splits in positioning. But that's, you really, really need to get Vikings to help support these units. It's all going to depend on how many Broodlords he's going to get, just how fast Kas will hit. And he's moving out now. His 2-2 is about to finish. Combat shield's done. He stems a few Marines forward. He wants to make sure there's nothing here waiting for him. And, well, there's a Zergling, I guess you call it a quasi run by. He was going to try to run by, but that wasn't able to happen. So now he's moving out towards the center. He sieges up, expecting a possible aggression. And, well, Slivko has a lot here. He scans. Says, okay, well, I'm going to siege up. I'm going to slowly step forward. Should unsiege now and try to move forward a bit more. But Slivko, 7 Broodlords on the way, man. This is going to be very scary. There are a ton of Marines here, but it will only take 2 or 3 good fungals with those Zerglings moving in for these Banelings to actually just crush everything. So it's going to be require some really good micro. Has he scouted the Broodlords yet? I just want to note something. Our players have not scouted each other, like, at all. No one has seen anything. It's like both players are map hacking, and it's just like, I don't even know. But Kas obviously can't because no Vikings. But now he sees the Broodlords, and he's like, oh my goodness, I made a terrible mistake. He's going to try to step back, sieges the tanks, tries to put the Marines. The tanks are actually in a good position to stop the Infestors and Zerglings, but the Broodlords will just kill the tanks first. Once they're unsieged, now the Zerglings rolling in, and there's nothing to stop the Infestors and Banelings. I feel like Kas, it's not a fun position. He's moving out. He's adding on 4 starports. This is a bit ridiculous. If he can get his tech up, he should be fine because of his economy. He's moving to take a 4th base now, but he really needs to abuse the fact that Broodlords are super, super slow. Now, 3 medevacs actually heading into the main of Slivko. There's barely anything here. 2 Banelings, but will it be enough? I don't really think so to stop 3 medevacs. He's going to start dropping now. There are Banelings here, but they're blowing up before everything's unloaded, so minimizing the amount of damage they do. The Infestors grab a couple of these medevacs. Will he be able to get away? It does not look like it, but Kas can remake those pretty quickly. He doesn't have too many medevacs to cover his bio there. And the main base is doing quite a bit of damage. He's killed a lot of Zerglings, killed all of the Queens, shut down some of the gas mining here, and he's killed all these Zerglings, so he's forcing even more units. His Banelings are going to roll on up, but Kas also moving to the right side. He's got tank siege. He's got marauders. If he can kill this hatchery, that would be absolutely huge, bringing his opponent's economy even to his own. And these Marines in the main are doing so much damage, killing even more Queens. And, you know, killing the Queen's so important. There's nothing to inject here. There's nothing to inject at this base. None of the bases, actually. Are there any bases that have Queens in them right now? I don't think so. There's only 1 Queen on the field, I think, for Slivko. So his production, excuse me, there's 2. So his production is severely hampered by Kas's aggression. And as long as Kas doesn't actually fight the Broodlords, he's totally fine. He can protract this war as long as he wants. But looks like engagement's going to be forced now. Oh, fungal hits the Marines. There's barely any medevacs. Die. There are Vikings on the field, but there are so many Infestors. There's a bunch of Corruptors. This Planetary Fortress, if he loses this, he could lose everything. Banelings blowing up in the mineral line. Kas dropping in supply very quickly. There are Vikings, but there's just not enough to overpower this. Kas is going to have to tap out. GG. Game number 2 will go to VPbenQsLivko. And what was that game, man? Neither players scouted each other. They both just sat there. Like, there's not really much analysis I can do on that, guys. I think both players literally just metagamed each other. Kas was like, Slivko will be greedy. Slivko was like, Kas will be greedy. So they both just were just ridiculously greedy to counter each other's greed. And like I said, Slivko got the better hand in those dealt cards. But we'll get into game number 3 as soon as we can, guys. I am Nathanias, your caster here. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this. Don't go anywhere.